Alright, what up, y'all? Good morning. I'm filming this in the morning, so there's no beer today. But I got a big old tape update. I mean, I shouldn't say it's all that big. It's like 10-ish tapes. But it's going to be mostly death metal demos, except for two of them. And they're all 90s death metal demos. And I'll explain a little bit more as I go. But in the background, we are listening to Possession of Power by Morafade. Morafade is a Swedish kind of melodic power metal band. And this is their debut album from 1999. They're since defunct. I think they broke up in like 2015. But you know, this late 90s Euro power metal is absolutely amazing. It's beyond epic and it's super dweeby. And check out that band photo. Absolutely great. This has been kind of my style. It's not symphonic by any means or anything, but it's melodic and it has, you know, some like narrative stuff and keyboards. It's a really good listen. I really enjoy this. So if you like power metal, check this out. So we're going to cut on into it. So I have 8 demos from 90s death metal bands, a black metal album, and a modern death metal split. All these demos I picked up from the singer from Mulder. I forgot the guy's first name. But I sat there yapping with him for a while at his merch table, and he has he makes dub tape demos on like a label, so that's pretty sick. It's all old school stuff, and we're gonna start off with a great demo. This is Excrement with Flesh and Blood demo. Look how good these look. They're simple but very effective. Nice like cardstock paper. Kind of like what I imagine the real copies of these would be like. These are pretty obviously bootlegged. Yeah, recognize that one from that Italian death metal band, the brutal death metal band. So this is a band from Finland that was pretty short-lived. Here's the tape. They didn't really seem to make much after this demo came out. I think they might have had another demo or an EP. And this is from 1993, so they were, as it was, they were right in the midst of it, so they probably had lots of really cool friends, being, you know, the Convulse guys, Demigod, Ripakolu, things like that. But this is, you know, it's kind of similar to most of that Finnish style, and I, not knowing they were Finnish, I kind of picked up on that Finnish death metal sound pretty much immediately upon the first listen to this. I originally thought this was all Midwestern death metal bands, which is kind of what I got out of the conversation I had with him. But this one is not, and it's not the only one that's not a Midwestern death metal band. But you know, if you like your old school Finnish death metal, you're gonna like this Excrement album. That's pretty much all there is to it. Next one. This is the 1992 demo by a band called Contagion with Seclusion. So this is a old school death metal band out of Burbank, Illinois. I'm trying to get the tape open. Amateur hour. Just a logo plastered on the tape there. And this band, you know, they have pretty similar stylings to most of your Chicago area death metal bands. It sounds like most of, think of like, you know, the most typical 90s death metal demo you could really think of. And this is pretty much what Contagion sounds like. That being said, I like this one quite a bit. It's riffy, it's really raw, but it's definitely hooky. You know, the riffs, they really actually have something for you to grasp onto, as opposed to like an ambient noise of a lot of bands would be at this time. You know, a lot of them would just be harsh noise, boombox recorded, which this more than likely was, but it, you know, it doesn't feel like it. It maintains the intensity that you really want out of a death metal release. So yeah, Contagion Seclusion demo, really good stuff if you guys have not heard this one before. Next one, we're finally leaving the United States. For a long time, I thought this band was called Metal Remains, which I was like, it's a kind of a stupid name, but it's not. This is Mortal Remains with their demo, Crawl. Crawl is their demo from 1991. and it's only 2 tracks on here. It's pretty short demo. It's like an 8-minute listen. But you know, this look on here, man, this is a really cool aesthetic. This really maintains that old school feel. And this record itself kind of has a little bit of the doomier passage to it, you know. I don't know if I would call it musically all that gloomy and doomy, but it kind of has that cacophonous incantation feel, you know, where they slow down a little bit, but it's really like suffocating and kind of closed off. It just doesn't sound very expansive. It sounds really cavern dwelling. You know, the cavernous death metal sound is strong with this one, I would say. But you know, the UK really does know their death metal. I feel like they don't get their due a lot of the time. But this, yeah, check out that album cover again, dude. That is great. I love this like old school demo style of art. Except this one, I don't really know what's going on with the Excruciate one. Even when I opened it all the way, I was like, I had no clue. But even like this Contagion demo, look at how cool that stuff is. I don't know, dude. That's full on. That's where I love it. Absolutely great. All right, next one. We're back to the United States. This is Dearly Departed by the band Severed. Again, great demo artwork. Looks really nice. Let me bust up the tape and the J card. Nothing special really about the tape, but I love the look of it, man. This DIY look. This is the whole J card printed on the inside like that. So this is a Chicago band, and they're a little later than most of the stuff that I actually have listed on here. And this demo's from 1996, and they're supposedly still active, but they haven't released anything since this demo in 1996, so I don't know if I would consider that particularly active. But you know, it's listed as death metal / grindcore, which I'm not really getting a lot of the grindcore. I do pick up on some pretty hefty punk influence on this demo, which would make sense. But considering, you know, Chicago really loves their hardcore. If you're from the Chicago-ish area, which I guess I kind of am, even though Chicago is well over 60 miles from me, where the plague spreads quickly. But, you know, I've been to Chicago 1,005 times for shows, and the punks are strong, man. The grind guys and all that, I see where they're coming from with a little bit of grind action on here. But it's definitely more of a straight-up death metal album. Maybe a little bit of, like, crossover, like kind of death metal crossover, you know, how that style has gotten really big with your, with Creeping Death and Gate Creeper and stuff like that, and other bands like that, you know. That kind of reminds me of, those bands kind of remind me of this, I guess I should say, considering this is probably when those guys were born. But yeah, it's a good demo. Severed is really cool. Chicago's always killing it, both literally and figuratively. So next we got a black metal album, switching it up a little bit. I got this from Nick over at Motley Crue Forever. This is a Skies Over Westeros by Scroth. So first off, if you couldn't tell, that's a black metal album. That's a black metal album, that's for sure. Really cool tape, pro printed. Looks really nice on there. And this is, I'm pretty sure, out on, yeah, it's on Death Bridge Records, which is Desi Wood. This is also his one-man project. If you know who Desi Wood is, he doesn't really post much anymore these days on his YouTube page, but that's kind of like where I know Desi from, and I've spoken with him on several occasions over the years. And you know, he's a great dude. He puts out great videos. He's got really good taste. He's actually the main reason I'm into power metal. He made a whole video about his power metal collection, and he was showing all these Rhapsody LPs and stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, that's an awesome looking genre. What is up with that? And why don't I know anything about it? So, but his project, Scroth, this is the one album Scroth put out from 2014. This is the alternate album cover. The original album cover, I don't know why he used this one instead. This is a cool photo and all, but like that first album cover was really awesome. Hello, Fauna. The cat has joined us. So we got kind of an atmospheric black metal. with a heavy drum machine. The drum machine is very noticeable. It's very, very in your face. You can tell from the production value, the consistency and the cymbals. It's definitely computerized, which isn't particularly distracting. I've noticed the drum machine kind of irks me a little bit more when you're going fast, unless it's, you know, I don't know, if it fits well with certain stuff, like a grind band with a drum machine doesn't sound all that out of place. But, you know, you have something like playing a faster atmospheric black metal, you know, Hate Forest or something. If they had a drum machine, I would notice it pretty quickly. And this is a pretty fast black metal. So it's maybe a little distracting, but really nothing that's going to ruin the experience for you. But it's a great record. It's all about Game of Thrones lore, which I don't know anything about, considering I've never even seen a scene from Game of Thrones. So I'm assuming it's a pretty cool concept. As you saw in here, he's got all of those maps and all that in there, which is I guess a map of Westeros, but it's cool. Yeah, it's an aesthetic that I think fits really well with black metal. You know, the knights, the dragons, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. But it's a great black metal album. Check out Scroth if you have not. Next, I got 3 demos from one band. So the band is Ossuary. Ossuary is from Pennsylvania. And I just, for whatever reason, was like, I'm going to just grab all 3 of these and hope that they're really, really good. And out of all these bands, this one kind of stuck in my mind the most. I don't know if it's because I had to listen to 3 demos in totality, but we're going to start with the first one. This is the self-titled or promo. It's listed as Demo 1 or whatever on the Metal Archives, but it just says Ossuary on the side, so I'm going to go with that. First off, great album cover. Dub tape, just like all the other demos are. This is just regular computer paper. Big long J card though. Looks really, really cool. I'm wondering where he's getting these scans from. I have a firm hunch I know where the scans are coming from, but that's complete conjecture. I don't actually know at all. But this first Ossuary demo is really, really good. It's probably maybe my favorite of the 3. This one's really, really raw. The production quality on this one is particularly rougher than the other 2. It's old school. It's brutal for its time. It's pretty heavy. It's percussive and it's aggressive. It's pretty much everything you expect out of this era of death metal. But yeah, this one's the most generic as well as the most memorable. Maybe out of all of these. And then this one, Over Her Dead Body, from 1993. That demo, the first one was from 1991. Let's go to take a gander at that cover. This is, yeah. Okay, I'm taking this out of there because this is just absolutely awesome. Awesome album cover. Ossuary is defunct now, so I will not be getting a t-shirt of that, whether I'd like to or not. Cardstock paper, looks really good, really old school, just like you really would want to have it, man. Why would you ever want it to look any different? So this album kind of tinges on brutal death metal a little bit more than the other one did. Just show the tape already. So this one, yeah, this is 1993, so brutal death metal already exists. Suffocation's already out. Cryptopsy is just about to come out, I think. When did Blasphemy Made Flesh drop? That was 94? Something? None So Vile was 96? I don't remember. Either way, there's more brutal death metal bands than just those 2. But, so I feel like those Suffocation albums were definitely something that was influencing this band. Being from Pennsylvania, that's not too far off from New York. And it's really showing. So you got a lot of that old school style with the really like beat down, hardcore, aggressive, and percussive, brutal death metal riffage that you see in a lot of the old school brutal death metal bands. And Ossuary really, really does a cool version of that. And then one more demo from them is Fat. Not as particularly keen on this album cover. It's kind of stupid. It's just some dead guy laying on the floor in a pool of blood, I guess. Which I guess that's pretty death metal, but this one, this one's definitely starting to get a better production value. You could pass this off as a rough album if it wasn't only 4 tracks. But so this one is still kind of maintaining that brutal death metal tinge, but not as much as maybe that last one. This one tends to get a little more 90s, if you get my drift. It's starting to get a little groovy. It's the old school death metal, old school brutal tinge to death metal with a lot of groove metal. And when I say groove metal, I literally mean your Pantera, your friggin' Machine Head and stuff like that. I don't mean like groovy death metal like, you get with something like Contagion. That album was super groovy. It was really kind of Morbid Angel-y as well. But this Ossuary album really picks up on that 90s groove metal train that was happening all the time. I'm not huge on that style either, so luckily it doesn't bother me all that much because it's definitely not the focal point and they didn't lighten up particularly too much. So Ossuary's great. Check out that demo if you have not. One more of the 90s demos, and then I have a split from 2 modern bands. This is Mortal Mutilation with the album Dawn of the Dead. Probably the best album cover that we've seen on these demos today. Let's get the full picture here. It looks good. There's the full spectrum there. Fauna, Stop Clawing My Leg. Yeah, this would be a great one to have on CD just to get that whole picture in one thing. I feel like it's a waste of a great photo. There's the fellas right there. So this band is from Spain, and they're absolutely killing it, man. This record is really good. This demo. This is, again, another one that you could probably almost have passed off for a for a regular EP or an album, other than the drum production. The drum production on this one is distractingly rough. This one is noticeably difficult to get past. The drum sound is just brutal, and not brutal in a death metal good sense. It is just it's ear grating. It's got that a cartoon character's running in the air kind of sound effect for the kick drum is basically what it sounds like, and the snare drum sounds absolutely horrendous. The cymbals sound like static, but the rest of it's really good. And I'm not like an audiophile or anything, so if I'm noticing this, it's pretty bad. But the riffs are great. It's more of that really hefty, thick, kind of malevolent creation-y, sinister-y, touching on brutality style of death metal. It's really good. This is out on Drowned Productions, and this one kind of has little touches of thrash and some melodicism as well to it. And that's a good fit. And with all this great album cover, I feel like if this band would have continued on, they would have had a possibly pretty promising career, or at least they would be, a cult classic in this vein of, Sorcery's Blood Chilling Tales is a cult classic or something like that, or anything like that. So Spain, great death metal, 1992 out of Barcelona. And the last one, we got a split between 2 Canadian death metal bands from the modern age. This is the split between Puke Wraith and Intestinal Hex. Both of them are from Ontario, Canada, and let's check it out. We got this really sick purple tape. Nothing on this side, one-sided tape. Got all the stuff there. Would you call that etched? I don't know. I got a download code of which I'm not showing. Fun. Stop with the climb. Purple, clear purple back tray. And let's check out this great album cover. That's actually the main thing that got me to check this out, was this amazing album cover. I absolutely love that. So what you got here is the new wave of old school death metal to a T. Puke Wraith is definitely something that's pretty interesting to listen to, even though it's something you've heard. You've heard both of these bands, basically. They have some sludgy elements. They have a lot of good, thick, and meaty old school death metal tendencies to both of these bands, and that's really all you can say about it. There's not a million crazy descriptions I can give to something that's so straight up, so meat and potatoes, and maybe some gravy over the top. But it's a great split, and yeah, I would recommend pretty much everything in this video. But I think that'll be good for this one, y'all. I'll see you guys in the next one. The cat's here to bother you. She says hello. And yeah, keep it greasy, y'all.